Welcome to Morning Verses. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, something's going on with the Facebook live feed. It may pop into existence as we go because I've got it trying to connect. Don't know what's going on there. So, if you're having trouble with that, then you won't be able to hear me at all, I guess. But I've shared the YouTube link. We're on YouTube Live right now. I've shared the YouTube link on all of our Facebook pages. So, maybe you can use that. So, what I want to do today is I want to have a little bit different of a format. So in the last few days, we've gone through a number of verses very slowly. I want to go through them a little bit quicker today, and I want to share kind of a new thought I woke up with this morning. So let's jump right into our verses. I'm just going to read through our story, and then I'm going to give you a couple of points that I think are significant. So let's jump right to it. Here's what John chapter 2 says. Now remember, we've gone through John chapter 1. We've met John the Baptist. We're going to come back to him in a moment. But now we are focusing in on Jesus' story. So let's take a look at what John chapter 2, verse 1 through 12 says. On the third day, a wedding took place in Cana of Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples were invited to the wedding as well. When the wine ran out, Jesus' mother told him, "They don't have any wine." "What does that have to do with you and me, woman?" Jesus asked. "My hour has not yet come." "Do whatever he tells you," his mother told the servants. Now, 6 stone water jars had been set there for Jewish purification, each containing 20 or 30 gallons. "Fill the jars with water," Jesus told them. So they filled them to the brim. Then he said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the head waiter." And they did. When the head waiter tasted the water after it had become wine, he did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. He called the groom and said to him, "Everyone sets out the fine wine first. Then, after people are drunk, the inferior. But you have kept the fine wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee. He revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. So that's an amazing story, the story of Jesus' first sign. Now, I think it's significant that it calls it signs here, because in the Gospel of John, each of these miraculous acts are to signify something. There's to signify Jesus' identity, to tell us who he is, to prove that he has the authority to do what he claimed he has the authority to do. So, I want to take a look at, I missed one verse here. Verse 12. After this, he went down to Capernaum together with his mother, his brothers, and his disciples, and they stayed there only a few days. Now, I want to just bring out a couple of quick little points, a couple of things that I find significant about these verses. So, the first is, I want to show you verse 4 again. Notice what it says. "What does that have to do with you and me, woman?" Jesus asked. "My hour has not yet come." Now, what's interesting about this, it'd be easy to look at this and think that he's being rude to his mother, but if you look at the original language, he's not. This is actually a respectful way to speak to his mother. The word that we translate woman there, that's a respectful term. Now, what's interesting about this verse is that it seems like his mother wants him to do something, right? She wants him to do something, and it seems as if she is implying that she wants him to do it publicly. But notice he says, "My hour has not yet come." Now, we know through the Gospel of John what Jesus' hour is, because later he eventually says, "Okay, my hour to be glorified has come." And what is that hour? That time, or that hour, is the time when he goes to the cross. So that is the moment when Jesus is glorified. And so what he's saying here is, my time to be glorified has not yet come. So in a sense, he's saying to his mother, I'm not going to do this for my glory at this point. It's not time for me to be glorified. But notice he does do a miracle. So that makes me think that Jesus didn't refuse to do a miracle, but he refused to do it in the way that she wanted him to. You see, she seemed to want him to do this miracle in a certain way. He didn't refuse to do the miracle, but he refused to do it in the way that his mother was asking him. And I think that's significant to us because there are times when we want God to act, but he may not act in the way that we want. Now, I just realized that my slide was showing that whole time, so you couldn't see me. Not that you need to see me all that much, but here we are. So he didn't refuse to do a miracle, but he refused to, he didn't refuse to do a miracle, but he refused to do it in the way that she seemed to be asking him. Now, I want to show you another verse that I think is significant. Notice this one. Now, 6 stone water jars had been set there for Jewish purification. Now, this is interesting to me because Jesus does this miracle and he takes these water jars, then there was stone. The Jews believed that stone couldn't become impure or impure. And so they used stone water jars for an elaborate ceremony of purification. Now, God had given them purification laws in the Old Testament, but the Jewish rabbis, being extremely legalistic, had created this really legalistic system where they had to wash with 6 different pots and do these certain things. And so this is almost funny to me that Jesus uses their pots that should be, or that normally would be used for this legalistic washing ceremony. He uses it and fills it with alcohol. Now, that's ironic in one sense. He is the great physician, and alcohol is ultimately a disinfectant. I don't think that's why he was doing it, just an interesting point to me. But he fills it with alcohol, making it impossible for them to do their normal hand-washing ritual. Now, I don't know if this is what Jesus had in mind, but it does seem to sort of foreshadow the idea that those purification laws would be fulfilled. I mean, those purification laws were to purify people so that they could approach sort of the temple and approach God. And in a sense, Jesus is filling those jars up with something that makes it impossible for people to go through that legalistic ritual. And I just think that's really interesting to me. One last thing that I find significant, well, let me read what I wrote here. Jesus was blocking the legalistic Jews from doing their ritual washing. One last thing that I think is significant is that at the end of the story, it tells us that Jesus revealed his glory. And what it means is he did this miracle, and by doing this miracle, he revealed his glory, who he was. And so that is significant to me because Jesus first revealed who he was to those who would believe easily. You see, there were people who were going to see him do miracles later, and they were just going to keep asking for miracles and say, well, we don't really believe. Could you show us another miracle? And he would even encounter people who would see him do a miracle, but they would refuse to believe. In a later chapter, Jesus says to the Pharisees, he says, you refuse to come to me that you may have life. You see, there were going to be people that would refuse even though he did miracles. And so what's interesting to me is that he shows these miracles to those who would believe easy first. He shows his disciples, and it tells us that they believed in him. And there's no reason to think in the Gospel of John that that is some weaker form of belief. Belief is belief in the Gospel of John. And so his disciples, the ones apparently that hadn't believed in him yet, they believed in him when they saw this miracle. And I just think that is incredibly significant. So, I want to go to some discussion questions, and I don't know if the Facebook Live is working yet, but if it is, then you can respond on Facebook Live. If not, you can respond in the comment section on YouTube or Twitch or whatever platform you're watching on. So, these discussion questions are pretty simple, but I want you to just take a moment to think about them and respond in the comment section where you are. So the first discussion question is this: what is the significance of Jesus using purification jars to fill with his miraculous wine? And what significance might that have for our lives today? I want to just give you a second to kind of think about that. What significance does this play? So I'll give you a second to think about that. Respond in the comment bar, and I will return in just a moment. Okay, let's jump to the next question. I'm interested to see your comments. I'll look at them in a moment. And by the way, after the video's done, we can continue the conversation in the comment section. Okay, let's jump to the next discussion question. One to think about here is, why do you think Jesus performed his first miracle to a small group of insiders? And what does that say about our relationship with him? Now, let me just explain what I mean by insiders. This was basically a private party. You notice at the beginning of the chapter, it says that Jesus and his disciples were invited. What that means is that there were a lot of people that weren't invited. This wasn't a public event. Jesus did something special with a group of kind of insiders. So let's just think for a second about what that means, and you can respond in the comment section of whatever platform you're on. Alrighty, let's go to our next question. We got one more. Keep it nice and simple and short here. Here's another one. Verse 11 says that by doing this miracle, Jesus revealed his glory. What ways do you feel like Jesus has revealed his glory in your life and those of your loved ones? Basically, what I'm asking here is, we may not see a miracle in our lifetimes, or like a miracle like the disciples saw, but we certainly can see the influence of God in our lives. So I want you just to think a little bit about that. Go ahead and put that in the comment section, and maybe we can discuss it a little bit. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think through that. All right, here we go. All right. Well, I look forward to looking at your comments after the video. So thank you for doing that. You can continue to think on these things. Here's what I would encourage you to do. Sometime later today is to spend a little time looking at this story and seeing what other things you might find significant in it. Now, I want to do something that is new to us, something we haven't done before. We've done discussion, we've done Bible study before, but I want to do something new, and it's kind of an experiment, but it may take a little bit of explaining. So let me just kind of explain. So I am a strong believer in the fact that we need to pray on a daily basis. And I don't know what your prayer habits are like, but I believe in praying in the way that Jesus taught us to pray. Now, I'm not implying that anybody is trying to not pray the way Jesus taught us to pray, but you may realize this, that Jesus actually gave us a model for daily prayer. It shows up in Matthew 6, and I believe it's verse 19 through 13. In fact, I think I've got that on a slide here. And so what I like to do, and somebody else taught me to do this, and I really love it. What I like to do is I like to use the Lord's Prayer, that model for daily prayer, as kind of an outline or a skeleton for my own personal prayer. And so what I've done is I've broken down that prayer into lines and I've put them on a slide. And so we're just going to try this. We're going to see what we think. I've timed the slides so that they'll kind of go through. I'm going to turn some music on. And what I want you to do is when each slide comes up, I want you to pray about the thing that is on the slide, and it's based on the Lord's Prayer. And so what I want you to do is just to kind of expand, okay? So let me just give you an example. The first line in the Lord's Prayer is, "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name." And so I think of that as a way of sort of a moment where we should praise the Lord. So you might take that moment to praise the Lord for who He is, for His love, for His compassion, for His glory. Whatever it is in your mind, you praise the Lord. And then we'll just go through the Lord's Prayer using that same model. So we're going to try it out. We'll see what we think. After we do this, I'll come back and just kind of give you a sign off, and we'll see how it goes. So here we go. Let's give it a try. Okay, so that was our experiment, and I think I'm seeing already that the slides probably need to be a little bit slower. They seemed a little too fast. But let me know what you think in the comment bar, because maybe it worked just right for you. My idea with that is to give us a moment to pray and to just kind of set our minds in the right spot and to kind of get aligned with what God is going to do in our lives for today. So we'll try that again tomorrow with any suggestions that you guys have to make it better. I hope you'll put that in the comment section. I want to let you know you can feel free to continue to discuss on the comment section of the video that you're watching. Sorry for our technical difficulties today. I think, let's see, John, how long we've been doing this? 4 days, I think, and we've had 3 days that we've started with technical issues. So we're figuring it out, but hopefully you find that charming rather than annoying. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow. Oh, let me plug what's happening. Is it Thursday? It's Thursday today, right? Okay, so it's Thursday, and at 11, it's 9:20 right now where we are. So some of you guys, it's probably 10:20 where you are, but at 11, we're doing Free Grace Women. That's our first episode of a women's kind of Bible study, Free Grace Bible study session. So that's going to be really exciting. That's going to have Krista Kitchen, my wife, and Sarah Staggers, my sister-in-law. And then also they've got a special guest that they're going to digitally bring in named Allison Goforth. So that's going to be fun. So tune in for that. If you don't have anything going on at 11, if you do have something going on at 11, don't worry. You can watch it later. We'll leave it up even after that. So you can look forward to that. So we'll see you at 11 if not sooner. All right. Thank you so much. See you later.